A car explodes in a residential parking lot in Moscow. Not on a battlefield, not at the front line, but in the capital of a nuclear-armed state. The target wasn't a civilian. It was one of Russia's most senior military commanders. So the question isn't just who did it. The question is, what does this say about power, war, and accountability? Since February 2022, Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine has reshaped European security. What began as a conventional military campaign has slowly evolved into something more complex, a prolonged war of attrition, intelligence operations, and asymmetric retaliation. At the center of this war stands the Kremlin, led by Vladimir Putin, commanding one of the world's most powerful militaries. On the other side is Ukraine, defending its territory, population, and sovereignty. With support from Western states, intelligence sharing, and military aid. This war is no longer confined to trenches and front lines. It is reaching deep inside power centers themselves. This week, Russian authorities confirmed that a lieutenant general, head of the Armed Forces Operational Training Department, was killed in a car bombing in southern Moscow. According to Russia's investigative committee, the blast occurred near a residential apartment complex. A criminal murder case has been opened. Investigators say multiple theories are being examined, including possible foreign intelligence involvement. The Kremlin confirmed that President Putin was briefed. No formal attribution has been announced. What makes this significant is not only who was killed, but where. Car bombings targeting senior military officials inside Moscow are rare, and when they happen, they expose something uncomfortable: vulnerability at the top of a heavily securitized state. Under international humanitarian law, military commanders are lawful targets during active hostilities. But targeted killings outside active battlefields, especially in civilian areas, raise serious legal and ethical questions. International law demands distinction, proportionality, and the protection of civilians. Attacks that risk civilian harm, even when aimed at military figures, fall into a legal gray zone that human rights experts continue to debate. At the same time, Russia itself has been accused by Ukraine and multiple international organizations of war crimes, including strikes on civilian infrastructure. Moscow denies these allegations. What this reveals is not legal clarity, but legal erosion. When wars expand into cities, shadows, and intelligence operations, accountability becomes harder, not easier. For civilians, these power struggles are not strategic abstractions. In Moscow, the bombing happened near homes. Ordinary people parked their cars there. Families lived there. The message, intended or not, is that war is no longer distant. In Ukraine, civilians have lived with this reality for years. Air raids, power cuts, displacement, parents calculating which room is safest at night. Whether in Kyiv or Moscow, civilians don't decide military doctrine. They don't approve intelligence operations. Yet they live with the consequences when states choose escalation over restraint. The human cost doesn't wear uniforms. It carries groceries. It waits for text messages. It listens for sirens or explosions. Strategically, targeted attacks on senior figures serve multiple purposes. They disrupt command structures. They signal reach. They create psychological pressure inside elite circles. For Ukraine, such operations, if confirmed, would represent asymmetric warfare, challenging a larger military through intelligence precision rather than mass force. For Russia, each attack strengthens hardliners who argue for escalation, expanded surveillance, and repression, consolidating power internally. This is the pattern. Violence narrows political space. Security expands. Dissent shrinks. And while states calculate leverage, civilians absorb fear on both sides. So when a general dies far from the front line, we should ask more than who pulled the trigger. We should ask, what kind of war allows no safe distance? What kind of power thrives when accountability fades? And how many civilians must live in uncertainty before peace becomes more than a talking point? If power prefers silence, then informed attention matters. Watch closely, question carefully, share responsibly. Because wars don't expand in secret,